Admittedly, there's some mixed emotions on this morning's birding outing. On one hand, I'm pretty excited because we're going to see a species I've really been looking forward to. But on the other hand, this is my last full day of the tour. So I try to focus on the positive side, which is all of the incredible views that we're going to see at our locations today, and also the chance this morning to see one of my most anticipated species, the Swordbill Hummingbird. Coyambe-Coca Reserve is our spot for the swordbill and hummingbird feeders, check. Fruit feeders, check. And room with a view, that's a big check. And first up this morning is this glossy flower piercer, followed shortly thereafter by these two masked flower piercers, both new species for the trip. And let's go ahead and throw in two new tanager species as well. A few of the hummingbird feeders had some activity, but for the most part, all of our hummers were sitting on the sidelines, like these guys. And the reason why is because we had a bit of a schoolyard bully on our hands. This shining sunbeam was one of the most territorial hummingbirds I've ever seen, and anytime any other hummer got near a feeder, it would fly in and buzz them off. In fact, it was so territorial it even started messing with the tanagers. And I think its facial expression matched how we all felt about this bully. So with the bully running the show at these feeders, we decided to hike around to some other areas to see what other birds we could find. But unfortunately, on this morning, the birding wasn't that good. We weren't getting any of the species the sign said we could be seeing. But still, with a view like this, it's hard to really complain. But the good news was, as we got back to the parking lot of the reserve, someone had said the swordbill had been showing up, so we rushed back up to the feeders where we had been waiting that morning. Our first look at the swordbill was brief when it visited this feeder, but then zipped away quickly. Fortunately, we were able to locate it sitting up on this perch where I was able to make a good still. Not surprising to know, but this bird does have the longest bill in relation to its body size of any other bird in the world. And although the swordbill never returned again to the feeder, we all left this location happy that we were able to mark it off the checklist for this trip. For the afternoon session, we're at Coyambe-Coca National Park, and our starting elevation is here at 14,200 feet. And I emphasize that this is the starting point. Yes, the entrance is at 14,200 feet. We're going up a little bit higher. And we top out up here at 15,600 feet at an area simply known as antennas. And its stunning views up here was taking our breath away, literally and figuratively. And despite the thin air and the unhospitable landscape, there's actually some life up here. First up on the high wire was this red-rumped bush tyrant. And this is probably the most well-known raptor of the Andes, is this carunculated caracara. And then we spotted what might be the surprise species of the day, and you may recognize this from one of the previous episodes, but it was this tawny antpitta.
Yeah, he just popped out.
But my favorite bird of the afternoon were these guys, the very grouse-looking rufous-bellied seed snipe. In the good light that we had at the time, I really liked the way that their feather pattern stood out. It almost looked a little bit like chainmail. And this is the bird that we would end our afternoon session on. I got a few more snaps before it was time to head back down the mountain and go for dinner. But as it turned out, our day wasn't over quite yet. After dinner, we found a pair of these black-banded owls hanging out near the observation deck of our lodge. I'm up early again, and this is my last session before we head back into Quito and I hop on a plane back home. And again, like some of the previous lodges, the moth trap is set up and it's drawing in a bunch of good stuff. And the morning also had some warblers around, and they were species that you can sometimes see back here at home. It was great getting good looks at these warblers, but everyone turned their attention to this little cinnamon flycatcher who kind of ended up stealing the show for the morning. Alright, I'm calling it now. It was the cutest bird of the trip. And back to our Blackburnian warbler, where the morning light really lit up the pieces of moth getting flung about. For a second I thought this Inca jay was eyeing me up, but actually it was going for a moth in midair, and it just missed here. And to end the session, someone from the lodge pulled our group aside and said they had a surprise for us. They took us down to this sort of secret area and told us to wait. And after a few minutes, this guy popped up. It was one last Aunt Pita for the trip, this one being a white-bellied, and it was so dark my camera couldn't focus, so I switched over to still mode, and this is what I got before it scurried off. But after that, the reality kicked in again, that it was time for us to leave and go back to Quito. It seemed just like yesterday when I saw this Andean condor flying over my head, and I thought to myself, well, it's going to be hard to top this. Little did I know that all 10 days were going to have hard to top this kind of moments. I hadn't traveled internationally in a very long time, especially out on my own. Making a trip like this is a very good, humbling reminder that there's a big world out there, and I'm not talking about just the birds. Overall, I was so impressed with Ecuador. It's a beautiful country with amazing landscapes and, of course, awesome birds, but the country's also gritty, and it's got character, and I feel like it has a solid identity, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time there, even though I only saw such a small part. And of course, what also made this trip so successful was our incredible guide. His name is Lelis Navarrete, and well, he literally wrote the book on Ecuador birding.
Yeah, so my name is Lelis Navarrete, and I've been birding for 32 years.
Dang. So why should people come to Ecuador, this beautiful country, to go birding?
Yeah, well, that's actually an easier question than my name, because Ecuador is one of the most diverse countries in the world. It's a small country that's about the same size as the Colorado state.
Yeah,
and we have over 1,700 species. It's actually 1,752 and growing, because we keep on finding new species that almost every year, a couple of new species So we're actually aiming for 1800. But yeah, it's a very small country. It's easy to travel. And within 1 or 2 hours, you can change habitat. And you change habitat, you change a complete new sets of birds or bird species you're gonna look for. And so it's easy to travel. Small country. We have been in the tourism industry for 50, 60 years. So there's nice hotels, lodges, resorts to stay, all great food. So easy travel, good road system,
second the great
good
food.
food. Nothing beat us. Yeah.
Okay, one bonus question, and it's really easy. You can just say yes or no. As a group, did we annoy you? Did we do good?
No, it was a fun group. I mean, we always had a good laugh on almost everything that happened.
I felt like we saw a lot of good stuff,
including the bits of rain we had.
Yeah, so cool. Well, thank you again so much for guiding us and sharing all of your knowledge and everything for the trip. So thank you so much.
No, thanks for you to come in.
Yeah, it was awesome. So cool. All right, thanks.
Yeah, great.
Coming up on the behind the scenes video, I'm not happy to be back in the real world.
Well, we're not in Ecuador anymore.
I tell a funny story.
Oh my God. We are going to have to go to the hospital. They're going to amputate my foot off in the middle of the night.
And we've hit 1,000 subs, so we're doing a giveaway.